notice when I have sex, I don't act like myself. I feel vulnerable. I don't like how I feel. I start to feel attached too early. I start claiming something that's not there yet because now that I feel like I have sex, it makes me feel like this person's already, the other person's not going to be there anymore. Maybe the other person's not going to like it. And maybe you're going to lose a friendship or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And if that's the case, boundaries, personal boundaries is what sets you up to have a successful relationship. Everyone needs to know what their boundaries are and implement them, enforce them, and let other people know what they are too whenever they're violating them. So we're going to talk about what are boundaries, why it's important, and how to know what your boundaries are so you can enforce them. So this is the definition. This is how I define what boundaries are. So boundaries are physical and or mental limits a person puts in place to make sure that they don't allow themselves to be manipulated, controlled, or influenced by their own past experience. So a boundary is a limit that you put in place. So because most of us, we're open to a lot of things, right? It's a good thing to be open, but once you notice there's certain things, when you put yourself in a specific situation, you don't act like yourself, then there needs to be a limit put in place until you can figure out why aren't you acting like yourself? What is it that's triggering you in that situation that's making you act a specific way? So a boundary is a physical limit, and a physical limit can be something like, okay, I'm not if you're dating somebody, a physical limit for you could be like, I'm not going to be having sex with this person because I notice when I have sex, I don't act like myself. I feel vulnerable. I don't like how I feel. I start to feel attached too early. I start claiming something that's not there yet because now that I feel like I have sex, it makes me feel like this person's already mine. So if you're just dating somebody, a limit for you, a physical one, could be not having sex or not kissing, so you can really get to know the other person without your vision being clouded. Boundaries is what keeps your mind clear to make good decisions. If you're in a relationship, a mental limit that you can place is like no cursing or no cussing. Because if you're in a relationship and you notice whenever the other person cusses you out or like calls you like the B word or says the F word to you, it makes you feel a certain way and it triggers you, and then now you become this other person that you don't want to be, and then now you notice you start saying things that you don't mean. So a boundary that you can place in your relationships with a boyfriend, girlfriend, or romantic partners could be like no cussing, right? That's a mental limit because it's not something physically being done to you, it's something that's being said and received mentally. So why do you need to place boundaries? Several reasons. If you don't place boundaries, you run the risk of repeating past mistakes. You know, like there's some people who have the same experience in relationships over and over and over again. That's because they keep putting themselves in the same situation that doesn't work for them. So it's like once you realize something is not working for you, you have to put up a boundary so you can stop that pattern from continuing to happen, right? And why you also need boundaries is if you continue to repeat the same mistakes, putting yourself in relationships that does not work for you, you're never gonna be ready or open up for the person who is right for you to come into your life, because you won't even recognize them, right? You won't recognize who the person who you're meant to be with when they come into your life. Why you need boundaries is because otherwise you will stay in that same negative cycle over and over again. Everybody that you meet, like the person that you're dating, the person that you're married to, the person who's your friend, even your parents, everyone has their own unique life experiences. Everyone has their own definitions of what is right and what is wrong, right? So for someone, it could be normal for them to belittle somebody. It could be normal for somebody to call somebody like the B word or stupid or useless because where they grew up, it's normal for them, right? But when you put up a boundary saying, hey, like I'm not okay with you calling me these names, it lets them know how to treat you. Boundaries let other people know how you want to be treated, right? When somebody's doing something to you that you don't like, you can let them know. If you see that they're not following what you're letting them know, now it's up to you to maybe give yourself some space, and after you said it several times, then it becomes up to you to make that decision. And you have to be consistent in your boundaries. You can't just say it one time and expect them to remember every single time. This is something that you're consistently willing to enforce, right? Because it's taking care of your own well-being and taking care of yourself. Boundaries teaches others how you want to be treated. How do you know when you need a boundary set up, right? How do you know when you need to place a physical limit or a mental limit when you're in a relationship? You'll know when you feel these three things. These are the clues. Whenever you're interacting with somebody you love or a friend, whatever have you, whenever you feel powerless, if you're ever feeling powerless, like you're vulnerable in a situation, that lets you know that there's something up here, there's something that was said, there's something here that needs to be limited because I feel like I'm powerless. Another clue is like when you feel offended. If you ever feel offended, like somebody says something to you and you take it a really wrong way and you feel like this person's attacking you, that means there's a boundary that needs to be set. Also, whenever you feel like something is being done to you, that lets you know like you're being taken out of alignment, something is clouding your vision, right? Because nothing can ever be done to you. You have the power to put in place what you need so you can feel whole. So if you are, I think like the best example, like I mentioned before, like if you're in a dating stage, right? And because I feel that getting intimate too quickly really does cloud your judgment. It makes you feel like you're already in the relationship, right? Because you've already shared something so intimate, but for the other person, like I said, it could be normal for them to be this intimate with several different people, right? And for you, it may be not normal for you, but in the other person's mind, this is just something that's normal for them to do. They see somebody, they go all the way physical, and they move on with their day. They keep it pushing. So it really comes down to you and how you feel when something is done, right? So anyway, when you're in an interaction and you've noticed yourself feeling powerless, feeling vulnerable, feeling attacked, or feeling offended, so when you go back home, because in that moment you're probably not going to know why, that means when you get home that night or whenever you have time, you have to think about, okay, what is it that made me feel triggered? Is it because that person was maybe the person you're dating was checking out another girl? Was it because that person said something to you that triggered something from your past? What is it? Once you figure out what it is, then ask yourself, okay, what can I put in place? How can I communicate something to the other person to let them know when this happens, like I'm not okay when this happens. Like this is not something I'm cool with. And you have to be consistent with that, right? Yeah, because remember, boundaries are physical and mental limits that you put on yourself. It's not really for the other person. It just shows the other person what is okay, what's not okay. You put it in place for yourself so you're able to be in alignment. So you're able to express yourself clearly. So you don't have fear when you're expressing yourself. And I find that a lot of people may be nervous or afraid to put up a boundary, a limit on themselves, and therefore it is also kind of a limit on the other person a little bit, because they feel that if they do express something that they don't like that's happening, maybe the other person's not going to be there anymore, maybe the other person's not going to like it, and maybe you're going to lose a friendship or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And if that's the case, then that's a really clear sign that this person is not for you anyway. If by expressing yourself, by saying some things that you're not okay with, you lose somebody, I mean, be very happy that they're gone, because they're not somebody who should be in your life anyway. You know, you're not here to please every single person. You're not here to get along with every single person. You're here to be yourself and express what you're okay with and not okay with. And then people who I guess get along with that, people who understand that will be there and will be your friend, and those are the most valuable relationships. Anytime you're in a relationship and you feel like you can't express yourself, first look at yourself and ask yourself, did you do everything that you can? Did you say everything that you can to make yourself very, very clear, right? And if you notice that you keep receiving negative, not necessarily negative, if they don't receive it at all, or they keep intentionally violating what you're saying you're not okay with, then that's up to you now to separate yourself. Up to you to separate yourself and see how you want to move forward. If you've made it clear already to them, then it's up to you now to make the decision. You know, like nobody is being forced into anything. Everyone always has a decision. Everyone can always do something different. So don't be afraid of doing something different. The people who are meant to be in your lives will stay regardless, and the people who are not can go and throw a party, because you don't need everybody in your life anyway.